Greetings and salutations. It is I, Johnny of the Wizardcast, and this is yet another episode of Who the Heaven Is I. On this episode 6 of Season 2, we discover who the heaven is you. That's right. I mean, people listen to this stuff, and on the Dude Talking. And it's generally, besides those two MFI, My Friends and I episodes, sneak teasers, it's generally, me talking by myself and going through stuff that I've been through in life, or I'm going through, or I want to go through, right? But what about you? Like, I think... For myself, I like entertainment that's engaging. And what better way to engage than open up the phone lines and take callers and allow you to be part of the show. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to 650-383-7469. 650-383-7469. See? I can do that too, right? Call that number and tell me what's the deal. What's going on in your head? Like, what's going on in your life? I'll give you some song solutions. I will help you, help me, help the world using music. Because music is magical. I mean, think about it. Things coming together sonically. And then, in a lot of cases, music will move people to do things. They'll get you on your feet, get you out of your seat, dancing to the beat, or sometimes like Big Jagger, in the street. That's the kind of thing that music does. It's very powerful. And it's relatable. I think... For myself, a lot of my greatest friendships are forged with music. People that like music will talk songs that we like, or lyrics, or go to concerts, and that's fun. So the phone number, the cool line, it's not a hotline. There's no bling in here. But you can sing. It's the cool line, and feel free to call up and sing. 650-383-7469. 650-383-7469. Not bad for just waking up in the morning, right? I think back to my format of just waking up and, taking a leak and then come back on here. I think it's really been beneficial for me personally, because you get me straight off the top, and it's not really premeditated or anything like that. I'm just, and you also get that great radio voice. Although probably a cup of tea would help make it even better. And I'm just coming out of my dreaming state, my astral walks in the galaxy. And so I'm coming loaded with knowledge. Dreams are powerful. In fact, dreams. Yeah, I'm working on this radio show. What's the deal? And initially, the idea is just, deals, dating, and more. Because those are the things that you need to deal with, at least myself personally. And I think in the consensus of people out there, like, dating in today's world is a little cray-cray. Like, you don't know if it's crazy good, you don't know if it's crazy bad, but it's crazy. Oh, yeah. It's lucking crazy. I mean, it becomes spiritual because sometimes there's ghosts. But the one common denominator in most any of the online dating experiences that I've had since I've kind of got into it. As I'm going through a divorce, and the future ex-wife, she's like, "Hey, I have no love for you. Just date other people, fine." Because I like to live in love, and I think it's fun to connect with people. But a lot of people, they date for like, talking with this one girl, not talking, but I'm just, we were having a conversation, and she was saying, well, why would someone date this person? They'd have nothing to offer. And I felt like that was kind of like one of the coldest, inhumane things that I've ever heard. Because first off, like, if you don't know people besides on the surface, then I can kind of understand where you get that sentiment, but I don't, because humans, everyone has something, everyone has a gift, everyone has something to offer to the universe. And by saying something, they're not dateable, well, what does that say about you as a human being and what you're looking for in the dating pool? Like, I think I've said this on one of the other episodes, and I'm not going to go too deep in this because I don't want to spark controversy. I want to inspire conversation, and I find that if I throw something out there, people become farmers and grab pitchforks. And this isn't like, hey, we're not baling hay here. I honestly want naked minds, open minds. I want people to be able to conversate on a topic that I throw out there. And I haven't done the poll question in a while, and they actually pulled it from the show, like the format, like Spotify. I used to be able to put in things and have polls and questions, and if it's still around, it's hidden pretty darn good, which, hello, that's not cool. But, like, why do people date in this world? And that's the question that I want to know. Like, why do people date? Like, is it because you want that stability and the white picket fence in the house, and you want the guy with the great job so you can pop out some babies, and you want to make all the babies so you can play house with live living things? I'm not judging, but to me, that seems like it could lead to problems, because you just want to get to the destination, which is, make babies. But why do you want to make babies? Like, I know myself, and I have nothing but an affinity of love for my boys. Shout out to Logan and Tyler. But it's one of those things. Before I was married and before I had kids, in my mind, I did not want to bring babies into this world, because at that time of my life, I must have been, let's go, I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and I was just saying, the world's jacked, and people are messed up sometimes. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's obviously good people too, but I just felt like bringing babies into this world just seemed like you're setting them up for failure. You're setting them up for chaos, because there's no resolution. Everything is like anxiety. I mean, especially here in the United States, the mental health platform is no joke. Like, it's one of those things where I believe, in my conversations with people, most everyone I talk to has some sort of mental situation. I'm not going to call it an illness. I'm not going to call it an affliction. I'm going to say that, and I'm not going to say they're down with the sickness. I'm not saying that they're down with the sickness. No, I'm not. I'm just saying that sometimes people go through stuff, and they just don't know how to deal with it. Because I've said on other episodes, and it's just common facts, like mental ailments, mental conditions, they don't show themselves the same way a physical condition would. So A, it becomes harder to diagnose, but B, and this is the most important thing, it's harder for people to recognize it, that they have this going on. Like, if you are obese, you see it. Like, your gut is like your gut. You got junk in the trunk. Okay? If you sever your finger, like, you see the blood. You see what's going on. It's red flags everywhere, right? But with mental stuff, like, what's ground zero? Which patient one? Like, what's their test subject that is happy and healthy, and and are we all supposed to be happy? Like, people, like I said, this isn't a pitchfork conversation, but, like, I believe we're all meant to be living in peace and joy and contentment. Now, I get things will happen, but that doesn't mean we have to become POSs, like, not points of sale, but the other one, pieces of poo-poo. Like, well, I guess that would be poppies. But, the idea is that, we got to go through this stuff. We got to deal with it, right? But how we respond to it and how we compartmentalize it and regurgitate it in our carbon-based life forms and then put it back out to the universe, totally onto us. We are the drivers of our human experience. And we don't want to go playing bumper cars and demolition derby. But in my experience, I find that when people go through stuff, a lot of times they project it outward onto other people. And then it becomes like tag, you're it. Like, I just lost my job. Now I'm going to take it out on everyone. And then you get angry and bitter, as opposed to, okay, I lost my job. Now I got to find a new one. And they feel the stress of the world. And I'm going to get, not religious, but I'm just going to bring something up, I said it before, fear is tool of the devil, right? And, everyone that's religious, they believe in God. But very few that I've come to connect with have the blind faith. Like, hey, God's got my back. I'm just going to keep on keeping on and live Christ-like, where I'm compassionate, compelling, empathetic, loving, peaceful. No, they go, real, and they make the choice to not be like that. So that's on them. But what I found, back to, like, not wanting to bring kids in the world, two things. First off, I'm in the driver's seat. I control my emotions. So, I know that my mission, personally, is to have fun and bring, like, good times to the people, which is why I'm focusing a lot more on the MC Fazio persona of the Wizard Cast. Like, my musical mixologist, my person of, master of ceremonies, a lyricist, and musical mixologist, because that's, I think, my gift. Ever since I was a young lad, I make mixtapes and stuff like that, and they'd mean something to people. So sometimes they mean so much that people would destroy them if we were no longer dating, but that's a whole other story. I don't take it personally. I get it. People get angry and upset, but the reality is, like, hey, straight up, like, did we not enjoy the times we had? And can we not cherish those things to remember the good times? And yeah, the bad times are going to happen. That's why we break up or whatever. But does that invalidate the good times that we had? And this is where in my crazy head, I always feel like, for the most part, like, when you break up, like, it is what it is, but I don't think you're no longer a valuable human. I still value you as a soul. And if we had a connection for 5 minutes or 5 years, like, I still think we should be friends, or I'd like to be friends, but I guess some people aren't down with that. They just cancel culture in the dating realm, which goes against everything I was learned in the watching of Melrose Place, because they all just dated around. Now, granted, there was some craziness, but I believe that as a human race, if we are transparent with our wants, needs, desires, and reasons for things, and then ethically ethically engaged, where we're communicative and transparent, then everything all works out, Like, if you're dating, let me say, I'll use me as an example. I like hugs and kisses, right? I like hugs and kisses. Definitely more too sometimes, but, sometimes just hugs and kisses are nice. And if I'm not open and transparent about that, like, then what am I getting myself into? Like, maybe that person is, claustrophobic, xenophobic, and they're somewhere on the spectrum where they don't like being touched, and maybe, I don't like being kissed. So me not vocalizing that could set me up for failure, especially, if I'm going on dates, and I just assume that most people that date, they want to be hugged and kissed at one point. And that's where I guess you come into the problem, because not everyone thinks the way I think. And so I think, back to, dating being crazy, what if we started with the end and then reverse engineered the relationship? How about that thought, right? Like, you start with, here's what I want, here's what I need, here's what I desire. And then you put that on your profile. Everyone, well, not everyone, depending on the platform you're on, most females that I see on the platform put seeking long-term relationship, seeking long-term relationship, seeking long-term relationship. But it's like, if you want the long-term relationship, how do you get there? Like, I get that's what you're putting out there. Like, hey, you want a long-term relationship. But why do you want the long-term relationship? Do you just want comfort? Like, do you just want someone to be there for you when you want to vent about your problems and take it, and then go on your merry way with your day? I find in the relationships I've been in, there always comes a point where people start to evolve, and the relationship confines, meaning I'm always been the type of person that gets along with guys and girls, but girls will gravitate towards me because I'm a listener, I'm a conversationist. I put two things together, because usually I'm a cunning linguist, which people seem to like. But no, I can converse. And when it's a good synergy of friendship, then people will tell me what's going on. I'll talk with them. I'll ask them questions. And then I'll give them my outside perspective. And then I'll share what I got going on. And then they'll give me their outside perspective. And, we take it for what it is. And we it's a cool thing. And people feel comfortable talking to me because, as my one friend the other day says, well, that was so nice hanging out with you. It was like, I felt so non-threatening. And to me, that's a scary red flag for society. Like, why should any engagement feel threatening? And I think ulterior motives, right? People go out there and, they'll tell you everything you want to hear, just to do the dance in the pants. But that's just like, that's why teleportation doesn't exist yet, because people wouldn't enjoy the ride. Like, I want to Clark Griswold this thing, but in a healthy fashion. Clark went a little cray-cray. I want to enjoy the holiday roll, but I don't mind going on the road trip. I don't mind having the conversations and listening to the music in the car and playing games, as opposed to just jumping on a plane and you're there, and then in the airport people are stressed out and they're losing Kevin at the house. Like, oh no, home alone again. Like, I think it's healthy to have conversation and get to know people and do things. And sometimes that does take time. And people sometimes just want to flash forward. I don't get that, I think my dating profile, that if I'm going to engage in this thing, because I turn it on, turn it off, because everyone seems so conditional. They're so set looking for that long-term relationship that they miss the fun experience of getting to know someone in the short-term relationship. And I'm not going to give this whole episode on dating that much, but that's part of the thing that I want to talk to people about. in my new radio show, What's the Deal? But also about discounts and deals, right? Like, I think dating and deals go hand in hand. Here's why. In my experience, most of the girls I've dated, they come to this point where finances get into our relationship, right? And if you're both not on the same page financially, like, I think everyone should, especially in today's feminist and 50-50 and, hey, let's be fair type thing, like, it should be a mutual partnership. So if a girl says to me, oh, I need someone to provide for me, to me, that's a red flag in today's world, because if women want equality, then why should a man provide for them? Now, I get it when they're pregnant, they're having their kid. That's a different story, right? But in the same token, in my experience, and this is only my experience, I'm just sharing what I got going on. I did get a little nervous when I found out my future ex-wife was pregnant, especially with our first kid, because I'm like, how am I going to afford this? Like, I'm not ready to be a dad. I'm still a dude exploring the world. We just got married a year ago, you know? But in the same token, I knew that the God, the Matrix, science, whatever your belief system is, like, I knew that there was a force supporting me that had my back. And not only do we have one or two kids and successfully navigate through the finances, asterisk, no, I think we did. You know, like, she was able to stay home and care for the kids, and I bust my butt, and I worked in the orchard harvesting apples, and, you know, then making sure I presented them to people in a nice fashion. And when the apples weren't working properly, I would at some point even fix them. Sometimes I would even teach people how to use their apples. So working in the orchard was good, but, and this is where I think the downfall of my marriage was, my future ex-wife, she was like expecting me to like be there all the time and go through the kid experience. But in the same token, like, I was working, you know, and so great expectations or lack of great expectations, I think I would say, is pretty much the downfall from my marriage, because I had one thing in my head, she had another. We didn't speak the same language at first, literally. Like, my wife, very intelligent woman, speaks 3 languages. Spanish is her second language. English is now her third. But, you know, the indigenous, native language of Bolivia, Aymara, is her first language. So, you know, there was lots of cultural and communication stuff that was on different points, which, you know, I think it made our relationship kind of exciting sometimes, but it was roadblock, and if I go back in time, I guess I would learn Aymara, because then I could communicate on her level. So, lesson learned. But to all you boys and girls out there thinking of holding hands and going to the sock hop together, that should be some important first questions, like, what's your goals? What's your dreams? What are your expectations? And why not have these on the first date? Like, just, what's the point of dating? I mean, yeah, so, you know, I've had friends in the past, the girls that was like, oh, I need to eat tonight, I'm going on a date, you know? And that's fine, you know, because back then, especially, like, guys would buy the food, but then, you know, there would be some sort of expectation. And it was like an unspoken expectation. And the girls sometimes, and they knew it wasn't going to happen. They weren't going to get the freak on Missy Elliott. Hello. But the point of the matter is, if we all just were more aquatic, more go with the flow, and just were transparent, because there's definitely more fish in the ocean. And don't you want to swim with the fish that, you know, you can enjoy a nice dish and make a wish and be on that same current? I think that's nice when you could be in harmony. And not every fish has to do everything you like. I've even made I've made a mental exception in my head. I am a Miami Dolphins fan, and I find in my head, like, let to find a Dolphins fan I'm passionate about, and that'll be that. But I would date outside my team, not in that regard, but like if someone was, and I very delicately say this, if someone was a Jets fan or a Patriots fan or a Bills fan, because they're right the AFC East. I mean, it might be Montagues and Capulets, but I would do that dance because, well, you could make some really great wagers on the game, but it would be me accepting them for who they are, different but the same but different, and there can only be one team that wins. This is why I think sports sometimes are a little ridiculous, and I don't follow it the same way. I'm still as passionate when I go to the games or support my team, but I find that if you take it as an end all be all, then it could crush you. And if you just take it as like, hey, there's 32 teams in the NFL, they're all going to play, and only one's going to win. But let's enjoy the games. Even if your team loses, did you have a nice tailgate? Did you meet some cool people? Did you sing songs? Did you dance? And I know from being a fan of the 2007 Miami Dolphins, sometimes that sucks, being a losing team. But once again, you're only a loser if you don't enjoy the game, like the preparation, the whole thing. So there's enough about that. Back to deals and discounts, because that's the other element of dating, right? Like, I just laughed in my head because one of my first dates, actually my first date with, well, I don't know if it was like my actual first date, but it was like one of my first dates with my ex-fiance. I totally had a coupon book, it was like that entertainment book, and I ripped from it, and I totally used coupon because and some girls be like, well, that's insulting, this and that, like, man can't pay full price. Like, those are the girls I definitely don't want to be around, because, like, don't you want to be around ladies? I mean, you can answer this in the comments or call 650-383-7469. 650-383-7469. Because I would assume that you want someone that's frugal AF, frugal and funny, because that will get you through the tough times. Like, that's how I survived when my future ex-wife and I started busting out babies. Like, there's no way that I could have done it just on my apple salary by itself from the orchard. But I was resourceful the way that I budgeted, the way that I planned. And this is why when my son Tyler tells me now, Dad, you're not good with money. That's not really true. I mean, there is some truth to that statement, because sometimes I will do unorthodox bets on myself and bets on things. But then if you have the other person in your life, my future ex-wife, that isn't in alignment with it, then, the biggest bet that I took right now, which was leaving Apple, has kind of blown up my face a little bit. Now, I'm not saying it's totally her fault, but when you marry someone and they have influence over you and your life, and because they're part of you, like, I think, to me, like, marriage is a serious thing. And when you're that engaged, like, and you're that connected, you could build someone so up, or you could break someone down. And sometimes you can do it without even, quote unquote, doing anything, just by taking yourself out of the equation. Like, sometimes people say, oh, well, this marriage is codependent. I think every marriage at some degree is codependent, but there's healthy and unhealthy. A healthy codependency is, you figure out your strengths and weaknesses. You conversate on what your desires and what your dislikes are, that kind of thing. And then you negotiate or you strategize ways to live your best life together. And if that doesn't happen, then are you getting the happy ending? Or, well, you'll probably get the happy ending, but are you going to get the happily ever after? And this is the one that I think most people want. Everyone wants, well, when I say everyone, guys don't vocalize this, but I think, from my observations, guys, want to be romanticized. But I find in society it's always been, men buying women flowers, men inviting women out to dinner, men buying chocolates, men doing stuff for the women. And then after a while, the men get angry, they get frustrated, they get, not saying all, but it seems like this is the societal norm of how things are supposed to go. I personally think that dating in the initial stages these days should be Dutch. Like, hey, I pay for mine, you pay for yours. Let's just get to know each other. Let's take the finance out of it. Let's just be friends, Let's just take all the pressure, all the expectations out and get to know each other. Because then you get to the real core of the matter. But back to being frugal and funny, if you can learn to be frugal together, and not always just throw money at things, like, yes, you can buy new things and buy new that, but what about fixing things? Or what about, staying within your means? I mean, don't get me wrong, there's sometimes you got to spend money to get what you want, but there's also ways to save money and use different products and services and coupons, and like CVS is my jam. Jose, Matt, Sarah, Cheryl, all those people over there, they're like my second family. They see me there all the time, and I'm always hitting up that machine when I walk in, trying to find my extra bucks and my deals and discounts. And in the past 11 months, I've saved almost $1,200. And I get some really cool stuff. In fact, a lot of the marketing and products I'm making for my musical personas and my entertainment personas and my artistic personas, I use CVS Photo. It's really good. This isn't a paid promotion, but if you don't know about CVS Photo, you're missing out on one of the golden gifts of life. That's true, my friend. And speaking of which, I got to go to CVS and pick up some cards. So this episode went a little long, but I think rightfully so. I mean, if you can't figure out in 34 minutes, what you want to do with your life, then what's the point of living? Just kidding. No, I think sometimes you need to take time. And while you're taking time to get to know someone, and you got to know me pretty intimately today, it shouldn't be rushed. We live in a microwave society. Everyone's feeling the pressure. But in my experience, the more I act like a middle-aged morphing Tai Chi tortoise, zero without a shell, the more I live like a tortoise and explore this realm, things just kind of flow. So, like the London Suede, life is a lot of goodbyes. I'm going to say goodbye, but everything will flow. That's the track of the day. London Suede, everything will flow. And I'd like to find out your thoughts on deals and dating and more. So please call 650-383-7469 and share your thoughts with me. Because when you open your mind, you let the world inside. And when you open your mind, you let the world inside. Johnny, the artist currently known as the Soul Pilot, signing out here. Have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow.